Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. There's been reports in the last couple of days from an outlet called Politicalite that says that Ghislaine Maxwell is hiding in France at one of her old family homes. Now, this has been reported in this magazine, this outlet, whatever you'd like to call it, and they just say a source has told them that she is in France. Well, unfortunately, I don't believe their reporting. I'll just come straight out and say it. I don't believe Ghislaine Maxwell is in France right now, especially at some chateau where the access to her would be easy. Furthermore, why didn't this source go to the Sun right away and get that 10,000 pound reward if they knew exactly where Ghislaine Maxwell was at? Instead, they went to this blog, Politicalite, and told them that Ghislaine Maxwell is hiding out in France. So I don't have any sources in France, obviously. I don't know anybody in France for the most part, so I can't reach out to anybody personally to go and have them check out that chateau. But I have a hard time believing that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be hiding out in that chateau when the whole entire world is looking for her, especially in a place like France. I find it hard to believe. I find it very hard to believe that she's hiding out in France right now. Could I be wrong? Sure. She could be there. I mean, I guess, right? She could be anywhere. I'm not one of these folks that's going to run around and act like I have all the answers for sure. But my gut's telling me, and from all the evidence that I've seen and the research that I've done into this claim, there's zero chance that anyone can vet this claim right now, and there's zero chance that anybody can defend this claim all the way to the mattresses, considering it's a one-source claim and nobody has said who the source even was, just a source. That could mean anyone, and unfortunately, I don't know much about Politicalite, but from the research that I've done, it just seems to be like one of those type of outlets that looks for shock value with their headlines, etc., etc. So I don't know how much stock I put into this report about Ghislaine Maxwell being in France. You all know how I feel about Ghislaine Maxwell. She's a master manipulator. She's a master at playing cloak and dagger games, and if she does not want to be found, she's not going to be found unless it's by accident or unless the authorities are charging hard to get her. No, I mean, what happened? Was somebody was walking their dog near the chateau and came around a corner and seen Ghislaine frolicking through the flowers? You know, the report doesn't give you any information about how they found out that she's in France. Just a one line, oh, well, a source has told us she is in France, and all of a sudden that's an exclusive, that's a bombshell. I don't buy it. Sorry, I don't buy that she's in France. And in fact, I think unless you have rock solid information about Ghislaine Maxwell's whereabouts or about what she was up to, etc., you probably shouldn't even insert yourself into the conversation, because disinformation does nobody good in this case. Disinformation does nobody good in this case. And in fact, what it does is it makes you as an outlet look really bad. And they're going to need to provide, I guess what I'm trying to say here is we're going to need more proof from the outlet Politicalite if they want us to believe them here on this podcast. Now, I'm not saying they're 100% wrong. She could be in France, right? But the indicators that I've seen and the evidence that I have seen, I highly doubt that she is at some chateau in France frolicking around, eating cheese and drinking wine. I highly doubt that's occurring. Why would she need money for protection and moving place to place, blah, 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 right? You don't think that the reporters have checked all of her usual haunts? You don't think that the reporters who are tracking down this story mobbed to that chateau and took a look, and you don't think that people are mobbing there right now as we speak? I'm sure there are French reporters that are on the case, right? Again, I don't really know much about France. I'll be the first one to tell you. Not very much about France at all, especially when it comes to their inner workings as far as, politics in their society and who the players are on the stage. I have no idea. But what I will tell you is this. When you have an outlet like the Sun who is offering a 10,000 pound reward for Ghislaine Maxwell, that's a bit of an enticement, isn't it? You would think that if she was at some chateau and someone knew that she was at the chateau, that they would go to the Sun first to try and collect their reward before going to the Politicalite blog to try and out Ghislaine Maxwell to the world. So again, we're going to read this article, and just going into it, I'd let you know that I am skeptical at best about this. But as usual, like I tell you all the time here on the podcast, make up your own mind, right? Just because I think that she's not hiding there doesn't mean that that's true. That's just my gut feeling, and that's just the way my instincts are pointing, considering all we know about Ghislaine Maxwell and the case. I just find her, the idea of her hiding out in France right now to be, not enough evidence, in my opinion. Not enough evidence at all. All right, so let's jump into the article by The Sun. Now, The Sun picked up the story from Politicalite, and the headline is, New Clue. Ghislaine Maxwell is hiding out at a chateau in France to avoid being questioned by pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. And according to that headline, it's like they have rock-solid information, right? It's like they're saying, well, we know that she's in France now. All right, well, let's get some pictures. Where are the reporters there? Where are the people hiding in the bushes like they were there to take pictures of Epstein and Prince Andrew? We don't have any of that. We have no evidence. We're just going by what this Politicalite has to say, the source in Politicalite has to say. And I'm not trying to demean the outlet, Politicalite. I'm not familiar with them, really. But what I will say is this. I'm going to need more than one source, an unnamed source from some sort of, from an online blog to push me in the direction of saying, all right, there's some legs here. This dog hunts, because I'm not going to focus on a place like France and get shimmied by her, right? I'm keeping my options open. I'm keeping my mind open, and I'm not going to get locked into one theory about where she is and then go hard with that theory without any evidence. So I'm keeping my options open here on the podcast. I'm willing to listen to all evidence. I'm willing to look at all evidence in regards to Maxwell's whereabouts and as far as this whole entire case goes. But right now, for me, with a headline like that, if I was running one of these outlets and I didn't know where she was, I certainly wouldn't have a charged headline like that. Obviously we're dealing with The Sun, right? We know what sort of tabloid The Sun is, and we know that they love clickbait headlines all across the internet. So they give you this headline like, Ghislaine Maxwell is hiding out at a chateau in France, as if it's fact. When in reality, when you read the story, you find out it's one source from the magazine, the blog, Politicalite. All right, this article was written by James Beale, and like I said, it was produced in The Sun. Socialite, co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell is said to be hiding at a chateau in France last night to avoid being questioned about Jeffrey Epstein. And again, that's laughable at best, right? So France gives her some sort of shield to be hidden from the authorities. The French authorities won't go and swoop her up if the U.S. authorities want her? Come on, that's crazy. So she's hiding at a chateau in France when she's really trying to avoid the public in general. She's trying to avoid subpoenas, etc., etc. But she's going to be at this chateau in France, huh? Okay. Maxwell, 54, is reportedly at her former family home in Méroul in the south of France. It is not known who now owns it. So The Sun doesn't have any connections in France. They can't find out who owns this house in France. They're just going to come out and, run this story and say, oh, well, she's in France, and not do any legwork, any background. Like I said, what do you expect for a clickbait tabloid like The Sun? This is the kind of thing you get. But I will say this. The Sun has been pretty good with bringing questions forward in this Jeffrey Epstein case, as far as keeping the story on the front burner. At the very least, they're reporting on this stuff, right? So I'll give them their props for that. But the clickbait headlines, they crack me up all the time. And it's all the outlets, by the way. Legacy media on down. All right? If the content is good, you don't need to give me a clickbait headline. I'm going to read your article anyway if the content is good. The claim was reported by website Politicalite amid the ongoing mystery over her whereabouts. Okay, again, that's fine and well, but can we get a little deeper? Who was the source? Who reported that? How do we know the source is solid? How do we know it's not Ghislaine Maxwell averting attention again and using more disinformation? See, we don't know any of that stuff. So to run and say, oh, well, she's in France. See, it ran in Politicalite. I think that is a bad way to go about this case. And I think that people that are getting a little bit carried away with the fact that she might be in France. What they're doing is they're letting their confirmation bias take over a little bit. Sure, we all want this information. We all want to know where Ghislaine Maxwell is, and we all want to know when she's going to be brought to justice. But at the end of the day, we can't just latch on to any report and run with it like it's factual without us knowing, right? So, again, consider me skeptical about Ghislaine Maxwell being in France right now. Like I said, though, just because I'm skeptical doesn't mean that she's not. I just believe personally that she is a bit too shrewd, cunning, and calculating to be at an old family home in France right now. The Sun has offered a 10,000 pound reward for information leading to us successfully making direct contact with her in person. So the person that came forward, the source, should definitely contact the Sun and let the Sun go down there and take a look. Claim your 10,000 pounds, and if you don't need the 10,000 pounds, just donate it to some sort of charity or whatever. But at the end of the day, why would the source contact Politicalite and not the Sun when there's 10,000 pounds on the line? Right? Look, I'm just asking the questions, right? An analytical mind is always asking questions and trying to deconstruct things and trying to figure out where we stand. And that's all I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to see the forest through the trees here. I'm trying to make some sense of all of it. And I'm trying to get an idea of just how trustworthy this source is. She is accused of finding victims for the late pedophile billionaire, a pal of Prince Andrew, 60. She's also accused of taking part. She's also accused of being the brains behind the operation. She's also accused of being just a reprehensible human being. The socialite, co-conspirator, is the one who introduced Andrew to Epstein, and they became friends for more than a decade. Yeah, that's fact. That is definitely a fact. And from what I know, it goes back even further than that. Ghislaine Maxwell and the royal family have been friends for a lot longer than has even been talked about publicly, according to people I've spoken with. So the rot runs deep here, folks. The royal family in general, I just have a bad taste in my mouth about the whole entire royal family. The Queen seems like a decent old lady. I'm not trying to, I don't want to, pile on top of her or anything like that. But the royal family in general just gives me the creeps. They're just gross. There's no place for a monarchy in the year 2020. Maxwell has not been seen in public since a photograph emerged of her at an In-N-Out Burger restaurant in Los Angeles a week after Epstein killed himself last July, allegedly. And we know that that photo was photoshopped in the background. We know that it was touched up. And who knows if she was even at that In-N-Out Burger. We have no clue. Again, we're going on what a single source has provided us. And when that's the case, and it's one single source, it's unnamed, you don't know the reliability of that source, you have to trust your instinct, right? You have to trust your gut and see what it says. See if their story lines up with the evidence. See if what they're saying lines up with the behavior of the person being talked about from the past. And if the things don't align correctly in your mind, and there's no rock-solid evidence to prove it, well, my suggestion is to always remain skeptical until things are proven. She was reportedly also living at the home of a former boyfriend in Massachusetts, but she was not photographed there. Earlier this year, Maxwell sued Epstein's estate and demanded that he pay her legal fees as he supposedly promised to do. And this harkens back to what I discussed with Maxwell and her control over things, even from afar. You see, when you have all of the secrets and you have all of the information and you know where the skeletons are buried, it's easy to fire off warning shots through mouthpieces like Laura Goldman, which in turn gets the gears moving within the organization, meaning Indike and Khan realize that Ghislaine Maxwell is not playing any games. So you see, she fires the shots. Khan and Indike move into action, and next thing you know, they're trying to add her to the suit as somebody with immunity and being protected by Epstein's estate again down in the Virgin Islands. Do you think that all just happens in a vacuum? Do you think that Ghislaine Maxwell didn't have this whole plan hatched out? Say what you will about Ghislaine Maxwell, but she is shrewd when it comes to this sort of thing. She is very cunning. And you have to remember who you're dealing with. We're not dealing with just some stupid person, right? We're dealing with somebody who is very cunning and somebody who knows how to use the media in her favor and somebody who knows how to use misdirection like a master. In a legal filing last week, the estate said it would be willing to include her in a release all the victims will sign when they get compensation, effectively giving her immunity from civil claims. I've been telling you folks this since she ran her fat mouth through Laura Goldman about the hacked emails, etc., etc. I sniffed it out from the very beginning what she was up to. You have to try and think like these people. I know it's hard to put yourself in their shoes and think like one of these animals, one of these monsters, but you have to do your best to try and think like them, to try and think how they would hatch their plan, what sort of strategy they would use. And what better strategy from afar than to put pressure on the estate to add you as somebody getting immunity with you holding things over their head that you could drop at a dime and get them caught up as well. Talk about blackmail 101. Talk about using the honey trap. Talk about the compilation of information and dossiers that she has acquired over the years, and now she's using these things over the head of the estate to add her to the immunity claim. Think about that for a minute, folks. Think about how cunning that is. Think about how shrewd that is. And now think to yourself, is a woman who is making moves like that going to be caught in a chateau in France that her family once owned? That just doesn't sit well with me. French citizen Maxwell has always denied any wrongdoing. Yeah, of course she has. Of course she has, because in her brain, she's thought that what she was doing was right. In her mind, everything she was doing was on the up and up. Because when you surround yourself with other sociopaths and other sickos, well, your behavior seems normal, doesn't it? So again, folks, look, I don't have 100% proof that she's not in France, right? I'm saying the way I'm looking at this right now, and from the information that has been provided to us, the one source information to the outlet Politicalite does not cut it for me. I'm going to need better sourcing. I'm going to need more sources. And in fact, I'm going to need to see some proof, some pictures, something like that. If the source knew that they were at the chateau, they don't snap a picture from afar, wait for her to come out, snap a picture from afar. You know, there's just a lot of questions that I have. And that article or the Sun article certainly did not answer any of those questions. All right, folks, if you'd like to contact me, you could do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All right, folks, until later on, hope you all have a fantastic day.